What up, people? It's your boy Chris from Guna Eagle Eye. Um, I have basically just finished watching a bunch of podcasts, all analysing the game, except they weren't analysing the game. It was the first time in history that Arsenal won 4-0. And not one of these podcasts have mentioned the game itself. So before I get on to the elephant in the room, let me talk about the game. So essentially, I thought it was a good game, well contested, decent, decent to good performance. And I know that sounds strange. We won 4-0, doing good to decent. I thought the first half was a bit dire. There was no real penetration. There was nothing. There was no real flow to the game. It was a little bit stagnated. Um, and I actually missed part of the second half. Sorry, just plugging my charger in. I actually missed part of the second game due to the fact that, um, um, let's just say, I had some technical hitches with the Wales watching the game. So because of that, I missed certain parts of the game. But yeah, I mean, from what I could tell, I actually thought Iwobi was man of the match. I thought he played really well. Probably the first time, which sounds strange for me. Now, originally I'm British, but I'm Nigerian, so I've been really looking forward to seeing what Iwobi brings. JJ Kocha, whether you guys may or not know, is one of my favorite footballers of all time. Um, so, of course, I'm looking forward to seeing what his nephew can do. Um, he has ability. I would quite like to see him go on loan next season. I think he could. Yes, I think he needs a regular run of games to develop, but he does have ability. I do see something there. So, and I know that you're hearing a lot of praise from people like Jack saying he's the best youngster. He's personally, he says he's the best youngster that's currently coming through the academy, which is pretty fucking high praise. So, let's see. Let's see. Joel, I thought had a good performance. Um, Obviously, probably the main worry coming out of that game was the amount of fucking injuries we picked up. Fuck me. So we had Mertesacker go off at one point with some or a problem with his head. Then we had Gabriel come off with a thigh strain. And then the person that replaced him, which I think was Ramsey, he had to come off. I just thought, oh my gosh. So later on, I found out this morning that it looks like Mertesacker should be okay for Watford. Um, Gabriel's looks a little bit more serious. And apparently Ramsey's looks the most serious. Which, as much as I give Ramsey stick, I'd rather he was on the bench than not part of the team at all. So that is a huge, huge worry. Um, I guess we'll see. So yeah, that is a concern. But I guess we'll just have to play the game and see what happens. But yeah, I guess we got the job done. Walcott scored two, Jury scored two. Both of whom had good performances. Both of whom needed those performances really. Let's just hope for both that it will spark them into the rest of the season. And I guess brings me on to the subject at hand, I guess, and that's Bannergates. So as soon as I saw it happen, I knew that no one would talk about the game. Because the game was largely uneventful other than the injuries, really, and the goals. It's probably the dullest 4-0 game I've actually watched, thinking about it. Um, so because I missed last portions due to my technical difficulties, I won't do my usual player ratings. But let's talk about the fans. So there was a section of away fans, some of whom I follow. So one culprit who has been very vocal since it happened and actually got into a Twitter spat with Ian Wright. Yep, the Ian Wright was DT. And essentially this banner, unless you've been living under a rock, if you're an Arsenal fan, you probably know what's happened. The banner essentially said, thanks for the memories, Arsenal. It's time for you to go. I guess for me, and I've had people ask me all day, what do I think about it? In all honesty, for me, I've very recently come on board to the Wenger out ban. I'm of the belief, and I have always been of the belief, and in a way I still am of the belief, that I think the person that you get immediately is not going to fix these problems. They're just not. Mainly because they are all under the same management. I think it's generally the way the club is being led. You know, I don't mean it to sound racist or to sound like a stereotype, but I always worry when American owners come into football clubs because you always think to yourself, okay, but do you really get it? Like, this ain't NFL. Like, do you understand what it is to own a Premier League football club? So when Stan Kroenke even came into the club, never mind became a majority shareholder, I was concerned from the outset. And ever since he's come in and become majority shareholder, it feels like we're not going anywhere fast. You know, for me, what I've noticed over the years is that I'm not really an emotional or irrational person. So I like to judge things as I see them develop. And as I've seen it develop over the years, it's not just that Wenger won't spend money. He seems to have built an empire around him. And if you think about it, the motherfucker hired his own boss. He hired his own boss. They're not going to put pressure on him. Would you put pressure on someone that hired you? He hired his own boss. He feels like he's dictating play. I'm also the strong belief that if he really wanted a player, if he really went to the board and said, look, and I mean this, I genuinely mean this because I believe this would be the case. If he said, look, I want Paul Pogba at all costs, do what you have to do. There is no way the board will say, nah, sorry, we can't afford him. I don't care how much he costs. There is no way the board will say no. No way. So I've seen this develop for years and years and years, and it's always the same pattern of, oh, in February, they start announcing that, you know, we have cash reserves. And shortly after that, they'll say, oh, you know, we can buy anybody that we want. Rumors about certain players will start coming out, which I know is coincidentally when season ticket sales come out. I've said this for years. People renew their season ticket sales, they go into the summer. Fuck all happens. On the one time it did happen with Ozil. Listen, I love Mesut fucking Ozil. But we needed, when we bought Ozil, we needed a striker. That's what we needed. We needed a striker. and it never happened. But everyone was under this euphoria that, oh, finally a big name has joined. Okay, cool. The following season, we still needed this fucking striker. Sanchez came in. Fantastic, beautiful, wonderful, industrious player. But I don't care what anyone tries and tells me, he's not a fucking striker. So where the fuck is the striker? Where the fuck is this defensive midfield arm? Starting in this defensive midfielder thing. Where is our central defense? Someone to put pressure on Per. And you know what? I think perhaps Gabriel can really develop into a good central defender. I really believe it. I think when his English improves and he starts understanding his teammates, I think he has all the attributes. He reminds me a lot of Koscielny. I can see why the comparisons have been made. However, why do we only have 3 central defenders? Because you don't know what you're doing with Chambers. Why not bring in a 4th if you don't feel like Chambers? If you feel like, I heard something, what was it, late last year about how Chambers is being groomed to be a CDM. Since when? But okay, if he's a CDM, why don't you buy a central defender? That story would have checked out if you bought a central defender. It just feels like excuse after excuse after fob, and people get sick of it. People do genuinely get sick of it. And this isn't some sort of rash. Whoa, why are Arsenal fans complaining? Why are you so like? I read some sort of stupid article today about how Arsenal fans are typically difficult to please. Really? You try being an Arsenal fan. 12 fucking years. 12 fucking years we've been waiting for a Premier League. There isn't a set of top 4 fans that would put up with the shit we've put up with. Difficult to please Arsenal fans. This is why I don't take the Metro seriously, I tell you. So I read that and I immediately got annoyed. Do I agree with everything in that banner? Abso-fucking-lutely. 100%. I'm of the belief, and this might sound like a controversial thing to say, I'm of the belief that we will get Wenger, and I'll probably make a separate video about this, that Wenger will leave and things will get worse. They will. I think it's inevitable. I think we've seen it with United. You know, the grass is not always greener, and particularly when someone has had their claws in for so long, it's difficult for a club to immediately make that transition. So be prepared. Things are going to get worse before they get better. But I'm of the belief that it will get better. I'm of the belief that even if Wenger leaving leads us to fucking up and appointing someone incorrect so that we can find someone who is correct and maybe get some of these fucking idiots out from the board, so be it. Change is needed, even if it is for the short term worse, in order to get to the long term better. The only thing I didn't agree with the banner about was the timing. This is Arsenal we're talking about. At some point, they're going to fuck up. At that point, present your banner. Because the thing is that I completely understand. Like, I watched Talk just before I did this. And I completely understand the point of, people will complain about the fact that, it's an overreaction because you brought that banner out because it's an overreaction. The fact that you even have the banner, you brought it with you no matter what. So clearly it's not an overreaction to the result. You brought it with you. So that shows that this is not a short-term concern in itself. I'd understand if you know, I'd understand if it was like a makeshift banner and then you did it just because you lost 4-0. No, if you lost the game and then you brought out that banner, I don't think you'd get half the grief that you're getting, DT. I really don't. That's my honest opinion. You know, I 100 and let me make it clear. I've very recently gone onto the Wenger banner because, like I said, I've seen things develop and I've seen that there's no change. If anything, it's getting worse in a way. It really is. It's getting worse. So that's why I've become a Wenger out, as opposed to where before I was a little bit indifferent. But I feel the timing was incorrect. I personally wouldn't have done it after that game. I would have done it when we inevitably fuck up doing something. Or I would have done it last game of the season if we don't end up winning the league. There is a time and place to do it. And I think the fact that we won 4-0, and I've listened to 3 podcasts. I haven't yet listened to Green and Ramble, and I haven't yet listened to Bearcount Wonderland. Those are part of my 5. Part of my 5 go-tos. Green and Talk, Green and Ramble, Bearcount Wonderland, and 2 others. Right? The fact that I've listened to 3 of those 5, and not one of them have analysed the game that we played and won 4-0 in, just tells you all you need to know. It tells you that it was the wrong time. Because if it was the right time, it would be a fleeting mention. It'd be a mention, but it wouldn't take up 90% of the show, 100% of the show in some cases. I'm saddened because for me, I'm 31. I've only ever known George Graham, Bruce Rioch, and Werner, really. I suppose in my time of being a supporter. So for me, Wenger is almost like part of furniture, part of the family, if you like. I'm not one to hand him out. Like, I personally wouldn't have been holding a banner. But that's not to mean that I don't agree with everything that was inside that banner. I was very scared when Wenger agreed a new contract 2 years ago because I knew this would happen. And he doesn't deserve, for me, he doesn't deserve this. But I understand the anger. Because how long are we going to put up with this shit for? Because you know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. We're 8 points behind fucking Leicester. What chance realistically do we have of catching these motherfuckers? Really? Then not only that, I have a horrible feeling we're not going to do anything in the FA Cup either. Watford is not a gimme the way we're playing. And they're not chumps, you know. Anyway, I've had my little rant. I believe right message, wrong time. That essentially that's my belief. That's my opinion. I know that I follow DT like I said, so I know he's a very vocal character. I disagreed about 40% of the things that he says. But for me, where it gets ridiculous, and this is why it took so long for people to convince me to join Twitter, is when people start talking about people's families and shit. Keyboard warriors that wouldn't say fuck all to you in the street. That's when it gets stupid. That's when it gets stupid. What DT and Ian Wright are arguing about is what DT are Ian. I saw it. I found it fucking funny. I ain't gonna lie. I laughed my ass off. I didn't say anything to any of them. Actually, no, tell a lie. I tweeted DT and I said, "My gosh, mate, what the fuck have you done?" You open up a shitstorm for yourself. But the way I saw it is, I'm not even going to get involved. Anyway, my rant's over. Good game. Shame that the banner has taken the attention away from the message for the wrong reasons. Yeah. Well done, boys. Onwards and upwards, limping towards Watford. Let's just patch ourselves up and just do this thing. Let's prove us all wrong. Prove to us that Wenger is still a fantastic manager. Because I don't like this. I don't like this disharmony among let's face it, our people, Arsenal fans. Anyway, take care, people. Peace.